Hello and good morning to all the listeners out there. We are the Constitutioners. I am Tim Tishino, and with me is Ange Baya.
Hello.
We're here down at the Alaskan News Corporation to tell you about the importance of the Brazilian Emperor Dom Pedro de la Carta Francisco Antonio Giancarlo Xavier de Parla Miguel Rafael Joaquim José Gonzaga Pascuas Cipriano Serafim de Braganza e Bourbon, or Pedro to put it short. This Latin American leader fought for the Empire of Brazil, granting it independence from Portugal rule on September 7, 1822. But wasn't until 1825 where Portugal recognized Brazilian independence. Although Prince Dom Pedro was first to be crowned as King of Portugal after his father, King John VI, died, this reunion of these two countries would not be acceptable, thus resulting in him announcing his abdication of the crown in favor of his eldest daughter, Queen Mary II. The Empire of Brazil became independent for a number of reasons, mainly during 1807, when Napoleon's forces occupied the Portuguese mainland. The royal family moved to Brazil. During their 15-year stay, the colony of Brazil became a kingdom and had a large amount of autonomy. But during 1820, when French troops left the mainland, a liberal revolution broke out. They demanded the return of the royal family and also for Brazil to become a colony once again. However, over those 15 years of self-rule, the Brazilians have gotten used to their autonomy and refused to become one of Portugal's colonies. In response to this, Portuguese troops mutinied against the regent, Dom Pedro I, trying to make him leave for Portugal by force, but were outnumbered by militants and civilians. On his way back from a tour in the province of São Paulo, the prince received news of the Portuguese parliament not accepting any self-governance. After reading the letter, he held a speech known as the Cry of Ipiranga, ending with the powerful words, "Independence or death." Emperor Dom Pedro was an effective leader, granting Brazil independence without bloodshed. Not only that, after Brazil was given independence, Brazil remained unified as one single country. In 1824, Dom Pedro I enacted Brazil's first constitution, establishing a constitutional monarchy. This constitution provided a framework for governance, such as guarantees of civil liberties and the separation of powers, under the influence of the emperor.
Thank you for handing me the mic, Timothy. Now, you all might be wondering how Dom Pedro participated during the independence of Brazil. Well, the Portuguese parliament attempted to bring Dom Pedro back to Portugal in order for Pedro to finish his political education and to ensure that he would not try to lead an independence movement in the future. The Portuguese parliament also issued many short-sighted policies and repealed most of the reforms sent by Dom Pedro's father. The goal of the Portuguese parliament was to restore Brazil to a dependent colony. However, these acts created some anger within Brazil and ultimately led to Dom Pedro rejecting them. Pedro continued to reject and defy these decrees. He formed a ministry in January of 1822, and he later called together a constituent and legislative assembly. Then, in 1822, he declared Brazil independent and was crowned emperor. Ultimately, Dom Pedro is a beloved figure who is seen as a hero today. He is known by many as the person who made Brazil independent. However, he is also known for his impulsive nature and radical practices. He is celebrated heavily in Brazil. His embalmed heart was even shown off during Brazil's 200 years independence anniversary in 2022. Aforementioned, Dom Pedro became the first emperor of Brazil. However, he was fairly authoritarian. He dissolved the Constituent Assembly while they were in the process of creating a liberal constitution, since he thought they were radical. However, he and his Council of State wrote and put forward a separate constitution that can be seen liberal for the time, even though it strained the emperor's power. Dom Pedro also made the country's independence anthem. As well, he promised to abolish the slave trade. Nonetheless, Pedro's popularity began to decrease. He soon lost Uruguay after a costly war with Argentina. He could not get along with his own legislator, and he signed a treaty with Britain to keep import duties low. His popularity continued to decrease and he eventually had to abdicate the throne in favor of his 5-year-old son. We feel that history has painted an accurate picture of our leader. Dom Pedro may have helped bring independence to Brazil, however, he was extremely authoritarian. He banished people competing with power and rejected proposals that limited his power. However, he still set up an advanced constitution for the time period. Regardless, he had to leave the throne due to his lack of popularity and revolts. Overall, Dom Pedro is a crucial figure in Brazilian history and independence.
Thank you for tuning in today's podcast. Please make sure to check out our merch and use the promo code Constitution, all caps, and our website, keepyourrights.com for a discount on your Founding Father plushies. And remember to tune in next week for our special on the Articles of Confederation.